So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. I wouldn't recommend you buy these iPhones in the fall of 2019. Now I want you to be aware of a few things before we go any more forward here in this video, and that is that this is the 6S and this is the 6S Plus. Both of these will be getting iOS 13 software, and for the people who already own these, this is not a bash at you for owning this phone, so don't take it too seriously if you have these devices. This is more for somebody who hasn't bought an iPhone. They're gonna buy an iPhone right now, and they got their eyes set on these. Now, also keep in mind that I have recommended the 6S earlier this year, but that's changing now as there's cheaper options that are, I think, a better buy than this. And there's a couple more we're going to talk about iPhones I wouldn't recommend you buy later in this video, but they do have a special circumstance attached to them. Now, these phones also are discontinued by Apple, but they're not too hard to find in other places, cheap. You know, you can find them used places. So these are not hard to find, but you're not going to find many of them brand new condition, sealed like that are going to be a really great deal. In addition, the advice I'm gonna give in this video is more geared towards my US viewers. I know a lot of you aren't from the US, and that's cool, but at the same time, keep in mind that if you're in a country where this is more attainable for you, this advice is really geared more towards the US buyers of these devices. The last thing I want you to be aware of is that when I praised this phone, the 6S being still fast, just a couple weeks ago, that's not a video trying to convince you to buy this phone. A lot of people take these videos as, oh, this guy's covering the old phones, trying to get us to buy the old phones. Blah, 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 blah. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm doing in those videos is showing you, for the existing users, where these phones stand in the current marketplace 2019, how they perform. Those videos are more for existing buyers so they can see, should I upgrade this year or should I just hold off one more year till the next iPhone? Okay, so let's begin with my thoughts around the iPhone 6S and why I'm actually not recommending this one fall 2019. Like I said earlier, I recommended it earlier in the year, but things have changed, and mostly because of this phone right here. This is the iPhone 7, and this phone has now been discontinued by Apple, and this phone has gotten cheaper. So now this kind of takes the place of this as an old, good, cheap iPhone to buy. It was already pretty cheap before the iPhone 11 announcement, but there's really no point in buying a 6S at this point when the 7 has also come way down, and it has a better camera on the rear. It has a little bit better battery life in my experience, and it's significantly faster with the A10 Fusion chipset. Now, the iPhone 6S, another reason I wouldn't buy it is the lack of dual speakers. Now, most phones have went to having dual speakers on the outside. This one doesn't have it, and even cheaper phones are starting to get dual speakers, so you lose out on that with the iPhone 6S. Another reason why I wouldn't recommend buying this iPhone 6S used is that the A9, while it is a very supported chipset still, I think down the line, this one's going to be one of the first next to go off of Apple's no more support list. So you're not going to see this chip supported much longer, maybe a year or two, but after that, it's probably going to be gone for the A9. So the support is wearing thin on the 6S. In addition, the iPhone 6S, the cameras have been dramatically improved on this phone, as has the contrast ratio and the screen quality. Now, they're all Retina displays, but the contrast, the actual sharpness of many of the newer iPhones has gotten a lot better, and the battery life is just getting, it's not the best here on the 6S. It really just isn't. It really drains rather quickly. I'm sure you've probably seen quite a bit of drain already just in this video. And those are kind of my main reasons I wouldn't get this device. Now, it's nice that this still has a headphone jack that went away on the iPhone, and we still have this old lightning port. I wish we would see USB-C on the newer iPhones, but still the 6S just feeling rather old at this point, and it still has that old iPhone 6 design, which just looks like 5 years old already. So definitely not a phone I would recommend. Now, you could say, well, you talk about the 8 Plus, but this phone has these antenna lines. This looks even older than an iPhone 8 or 8 Plus. So for all these aforementioned reasons, I think it's still a very good phone for people who are already using it, and I don't think you necessarily have to upgrade if you can wait one more year. It'll be just fine and serviceable for the next year going into 2020 when the 5G iPhone comes. But if you haven't bought one and you're looking for one of these cheap used, I think the only person I could really recommend this to would be maybe if you're getting one for, you know, a young kid, or maybe if you're getting for a parent who's not really into technology like that and they just need something, then maybe this could be useful. But even then, you know, this is still an older device. And again, one of the last reasons why I wouldn't recommend this is that the resale value has dropped off big time for the 6S. So you're not going to be able to get hardly any money back on this phone. So you're buying it and it's a liability. You're not really going to get any return on that investment right there. Now the 6S Plus, I talked about this phone about 9 months ago and I was very positive about it. Again, this was like the older cheap phone that was still pretty good. And the 7 Plus is now going to be the cheaper option that I recommend to people who want an older, really low priced iPhone. It's still going to be very awesome here and it has dual camera. Now, here are the reasons why I wouldn't buy the iPhone 6S Plus. Other than that, the 7 Plus is now going to be the cheaper option. Number one, again, like the 6S, is lack of dual speakers. There's no dual speakers on this device at all. Number two is 2 GB of RAM on this Plus phone just doesn't feel like enough. The 3 GB of RAM really took the iPhone to the level where like you don't really see much of a difference between generation to generation. So lack of RAM, this one does not multitask quite as well as the newer iPhones that have came out after it. The clicky home button, this could also apply to the 6S, just doesn't feel, it just feels kind of dated. As a matter of fact, the newer Touch ID with the haptic press just feels a lot better. And also we have the newer iPhones that have Face ID. So this phone just feels dated in that respect. The battery life for a Plus iPhone on this has not been doing as well as I would like it to do with these newer software updates. I haven't been seeing it after iOS like 11, 12. It hasn't really been as good as when I first got this thing way back. What was it? iOS 9, iOS 10 on this device. I think it was iOS 9. This phone used to be a champ in battery life, but now the newer Plus devices got much better in this respect. While it's still a pretty decent battery life, it's much better than the 6S. I'm still having a little bit of trouble getting through a day on this phone in the current day. Again, with the 6S Plus is the cameras. Now the cameras, 4K video recording on both of these, it's still pretty good, but it's lacking dynamic range. It's not as sharp and it's really bad in low light compared to a lot of the newer devices. The front facing camera equally not as good as, you know, the 7 megapixels that came in the 7 that came after this phone. So again, this is really, a lot of this is related to the 7, and the contrast ratio and the quality of the screen also was upped by the 7 Plus as well as the 8 Plus with True Tone. So this phone all around just feels a little bit too dated at this point, and it's time to not recommend the 6S Plus anymore and give that crown to the 7 Plus as the cheapest old iPhone I probably would recommend as a Plus device. And again, this one, you're not going to get a lot of resale value out of it, and the A9 CPU shouldn't be supported much longer, maybe a couple more years, but it's not going to go 3-4 years. Now there's a couple of phones I said that I would discuss that I don't recommend you buy, and funny enough, I just recommended these over the 6S series, but I don't recommend you buy these two at a new higher price. I do think that they're good options, but the special circumstance I was talking about was the 7 and 7 Plus. Just don't get these at a newer price point, because if you're going to pay $450, $500, you can get the 8 and 8 Plus now. So if you're going to get these 7 or you're going to get these 7 Plus, do keep in mind, look for these in like the 3s and the low 4s, because if you're getting in the 4s, the 5s, you can just get the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, which are going to have better processors than the A11. They're going to have better cameras with 4K 60p video recording, and they both have better battery life than these two phones. Other than that, that's about it. These are the iPhones I wouldn't recommend you buy in fall 2019, and the 6S and the 6S Plus, and then the 7 and the 7 Plus just at a higher price point. Get them if they're at a lower price point, but mainly it's these two right here. And you might be wondering, well, you talked about these are pretty similar to the SE, so should I not get the SE either? Honestly, I probably wouldn't get the SE at this point unless you're really a fanatic about that small size, because the SE is rumored to be upgraded in next March, like around their, you know, spring event, Apple spring event. It's probably not going to be the same exact phone in that size, but we're going to see an update to that device. So I probably wouldn't get that either right now. And for a lot of the reasons I mentioned here also apply to the SE. So let me know which phones you guys are going to get. Did you object totally to this? Are you ordering these anyway? Are you ordering a new iPhone? Are you trading any of these in on the newer iPhones? And let me know any video suggestions you have for iOS 13 as well as the 11 devices, as they're coming to the channel this week. So thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to be well, and peace.